Alright, so now we're on the part tuning a mass airflow sensor for cruise. This is really about the easiest part of tuning with the mass airflow sensor. And this log right here, I'm going to shrink it down so you can basically see this whole log right here. And basically when you're doing this part, you want to get as much 0 to 50% throttle position as possible, like the gentleman this log did. So he's going about 48% most of the time. Got a lot of variation with the throttle position sensor, okay, all the way through. What I usually get when people are sending me logs is one basically like this, where you don't see much throttle position change. None at all. Now, I believe his speed sensor is not either not hooked up or it's not working properly. I don't see any change in speed. But anyway, he assures me he was driving it, so I'm thinking there's something off with the speed. But you can see here where with this one, even if I shrink it down, you don't see much throttle position change at all. That's the whole log, as opposed to this one right here. Okay, I see the whole log there. You see all kinds of throttle position change there. Let me undo the wideband so you're not seeing all that. So you got the speed, RPM, and throttle position there, and then knock, which of course we don't have any here. But that one, as opposed to this, is a lot better. The reason why is because you're trying to get as much feedback to the ECU as possible. So as long as we stay in closed loop, we have one over here. If you've paid attention in my other videos, if we're in one, if we have one there next to closed loop, the ECU is paying attention to the O2 sensor, which is what we want. As soon as we go into open loop, it's getting ignored, and you're not getting any feedback to the ECU. So basically, first thing before we go do this one right here, we're going to go into open loop thresholds into the direct access and change our load factor, make it a little bit higher. So load factor, that's basically how hard the engine's having to work. How much of, basically think of it as how much of a load, you know, think of it as of running down the road with a backpack on your back. Or, you know, you're going to be working pretty hard as opposed to not having one on your back, just at an easily stroll. So you have to reach, and load is one of the factors you can log in Ecmlink as far as one of your parameters. I normally don't look at it because I know 50% throttle, I'm going to be, you know, I can kind of judge it by how hard I'm hitting the throttle. If closed loop goes from 1 to 0 when I'm hitting the throttle, then I know I'm going too hard, so I got to let off the throttle a little bit. Now when you let off the throttle, you're not really worried about it. It's going to go into open loop. There's nothing you can do about that anyway. We're only talking about when you're in the throttle here. That's all we're discussing. So basically I changed these maybe about 120 or 1.2, 1.4. I usually keep mine about 1.4 all the way across the board. Then we go for about a good 20 to 30 minute drive, getting as much throttle position change as we can here, okay, as this gentleman did here in this log. Okay, here is his MAF comp settings that I've adjusted before he's gone for his cruise. I just guesstimated on where his fuel should be, I believe, or no, I take that back. Actually, I was doing some adjustments here, but then come to find out he had stock injectors, had to change them. So already had some adjustments done here. But anyway, basically most of the time I'm just guesstimating about where these should be, and then go out and do a log. So basically all we're doing here, after we've got our log that's about 20 or 30 minutes long, we want to right click and do a MAF comp adjust. Let me go back and say that a lot of times I'll have people send me 2 or 3 logs, you know, 5 or 10 minutes at a time. That doesn't work. We need as much information in one log as we can get. So usually about 20 to 30 minutes of driving, going up hills, stop lights, stop signs, whatever, speed up, speed down, or slow down. I mean, that's normally what we want. If you're on a highway, just going steady speed, and just throttle positions up and down, that's not normally what you're wanting, because you don't have a lot of load change there. But anyway, you want to do as much as you can. Come back once you've got your log done. We're going to right click, come down here to MAF comp adjust, and click on that one. You see these little dots here, the little white ones? This is where the computer is thinking that the fuel should be on average based on the log that you've taken. It's taken the taken calculations off of where you were when you're driving, and has plotted the dots here about how much fuel you should be to have your trims about where they should be when you're in closed loop. Okay, so basically all we do once we have these little white dots, and now these don't always stay the same. They're not always going to be realistic. You may have a dot that's way up here, and the other ones are going to be in a basic straight line. So anyway, basically once we have our lines plotted, we come down here to use template. Hit the use template, and then we can adjust accordingly because we want a nice smooth line here. We don't want it up and down, a bunch of hills and peaks and stuff. This one right here, because we're on a stock mass airflow sensor about 50 hertz, I want to keep this one right here where I had it, because that's going to be my fuel trims at idle. If I go messing with this, and that's going to throw off my fuel trim. So I'll usually like to keep that one where it's at when I set it at idle, and then adjust the rest of them. Okay, being that I want a nice smooth curve, even though it adjusted this one right here, I want a nice smooth line, so I may bring it down a little, and then just basically smooth these out, have a nice smooth line, and get it close. Okay, then once we're done with that, then we save it and we're good to go. Then all you have to do is come back over here to open loop thresholds. We want our stock settings back wherever they were, so I hit this double arrow right here, copy to ECU, and we're good to go there. Copy all to ECU for my math comp, and we're done there. That's it. That's it for the cruise. Then all you have to do from there is go out and do wide open throttle pulls, but that's in my other videos as far as that's concerned. We want to make sure we change this one back to stock values, because what's going to happen is if you've got higher values of your load and your throttle position, you're going to stay in closed loop longer, which that means it's going to be trying to keep around that stoichiometric ratio of about 14.7 to 1, which means you're going to be running leaner, which is going to make your EGTs higher, which is, for those that don't know, EGT is exhaust gas temperatures. It's going to make your EGTs go high, and you don't want to be burning up your motor because you're staying in closed loop longer than you should be. So just put these back to normally about stock values, and then save it. Then you can go out and do wide open throttle pulls. Let's go back over here to this other log, and let's see what happens here. So we don't have much throttle position change. We'll go over here to math comp adjust. We've got adjustments here, but they're not very realistic. A lot of times these dots here won't even show up. They may be just a few here. Now this is a GMF, so I think he was running around 400 hertz. So basically here, anything below is really to be ignored anyway. And I don't know how we even managed to get enough information on this log to be able to have these plotted out. But you see they're not realistic. Let's say if we use a template, we've got a lot of up and down over here, like a roller coaster. And normally a lot of times what I'll do, let's say this was realistic, then basically what I'm going to do is start off having my other ones over here on the high end leveled out about where these would be. But being that this is really up and down, I'm going to try and smooth it out, because this is very unrealistic as far as the lines are concerned here. It's not going to be very smooth at all. And then of course this is below the 400. I want to keep this one back to where it would have been, and that would be where I'd plot that one. But I don't even know how we got that much information on this log for this many dots to be plotted in, because we don't have enough information in this log to even get that. So I have other, I don't know, I don't have any idea how I got that many. Normally when I get a log like this with that little bit of information, it may have a few dots, maybe 1 or 2 dots at the most, and anything over here further to the right, there's nothing even there. So I'm honestly baffled on this one. This is the first time I've even tried to do math comp adjust on this one, because there's so much little information. So this is the first time even looking at it to see what it was going to do. I was not expecting that many dots. But regardless of that, just keep in mind you want to get as much information as possible and get as much throttle position change as you can, because these dots here more than likely are not going to be very realistic. They're probably not true adjustments that the ECU needs to be making. But anyway, but this is normally what I get, where I may not have many throttle position changes, and if I do get a lot of throttle position changes, it's not to 50%. It may be like 10, 20%, whatever the case may be. This one right here, just that little spot right there, we're looking about, what, 22%, so that's not enough. So Anyway, once you're done with that, you're moving on and doing wide open throttle from there. But it's basically very easy. Just one more time, just take your log, right click, math comp adjust, use template, smooth it out, and then just make sure you go back to open loop thresholds and change those back to where you see stock values and save it. And that's it. That's about as easy as you can get as far as the tuning portion of it. The least amount of work. Idle and wide open throttle take more work than this. But anyway, on to other videos. Y'all have a good one.